Leftists in France have been rejoicing after a hastily assembled alliance scored a surprise win in the second and final round of parliamentary elections. The New Popular Front succeeded in its goal of preventing the far right from gaining power, with the National Rally forced into third place. President Emmanuel Macron's centrist coalition came second, but with no group gaining an absolute majority, France could potentially face years of political instability.
A surprise result in France's second round. The defeat of the far right met with giant celebrations in Paris. The 4-week-old New Popular Front, a coalition of left-wing parties, wins the most seats.
First of all, we are so immensely relieved. You see tonight, we are allowed something that we had started to doubt. And that is the love for our country.
The left-wing alliance rising to the top has prompted French Prime Minister Gabriel Attal to announce his resignation after President Emmanuel Macron's centrist alliance ranked second in the polls.
Tonight, the political party I have represented during this campaign has 3 times more MPs than we were predicted last week, but we do not have a majority. In order to honour our Republican values, tomorrow morning I will submit my resignation to the President of the Republic.
But the election dealt the biggest blow to Marine Le Pen's far-right party. Despite finishing third, her supporters remain hopeful.
We are already starting to work with other patriotic and right-wing parties to get ready for further electoral challenges. We'll have municipal elections and probably legislative elections again in a year. We're rather optimistic. Victory will be ours in 2027.
Even though France's left-wing alliance has kept the far right out, the country faces a hung parliament divided into 3 opposing groups, which could mean years of political deadlock. And according to France's constitution, new elections cannot be held for a year.
Our correspondent Sonia Phalnikar has been covering this election and joins us now from Paris. Sonia, has Macron's gamble in calling this snap election paid off for him?
Well, for President Macron, things are certainly not looking very good. His centrist alliance ensemble, now they did better than expected. They picked up about 168 seats, though that is still a far cry from the 250 seats they previously controlled. Now, we could likely, see a new prime minister who comes from a political camp different from Macron's. And experts here kind of say that that is likely to, further diminish President Macron's already weakened authority and ability to shape policy. And in terms of whether his gamble in calling these snap elections have paid off, well, we don't really know why he called these elections in the first place. But one theory is that he wanted the far-right National Rally to be in office for Prime Minister Jordan Bardella to be the next prime minister, so that could bear the party's incompetency. It could take off the sheen of the party before presidential elections in 2027, where the far right leader Marine Le Pen has said she wants to run again for the presidency. But it's not yet exactly clear whether that gamble paid off, since Marine Le Pen has ended up increasing her party's popularity and not really assuming the burdens of office.
What about the left-wing alliance, the New Popular Front, that came in first in this election? It's a very mixed alliance. What can we expect from them?
That's true. It's a mixed alliance. It's also a very new alliance. It was set up, just weeks ago. It was hastily cobbled together with these 4 parties who put aside their differences and came together when Macron called these snap elections. And this alliance includes, moderate parties like the centre-left Socialist Party, but also a hard-left party called the France Unbowed Party, whose leader Jean-Luc Mélenchon is a very kind of divisive and polarizing figure. He's a real firebrand, and many voters have a lot of reservations about him. In terms of agenda, now the New Popular Front is pro-European. They're very supportive of Ukraine when it comes to, fighting the Russian invasion. But they diverge quite a bit with Macron's centrist party when it comes to economic policy. They have promised to kind of undo some of Macron's economic reforms, particularly, pensions reforms, but also immigration reforms. They want to raise minimum wages. They want to impose, caps on basic goods. But it remains kind of unclear how their program will be funded, given France's kind of ballooning financial deficit.
Now, the far right, Marine Le Pen's national rally, they won the first round of voting, but failed to take power. But they're not going away, Sonia. They're sounding very confident about their future. What can we expect from them next?
That's right. I mean, I think they look at this as, laying the groundwork for, as Marine Le Pen put it yesterday, for a future victory. She is certainly hoping to run again in the next presidential elections in 2027. But I think what this result also shows is that many French people remain opposed to the far right's ideas. Many probably also afraid of the unrest and violence that could have followed if they came to power. We saw a very polarizing campaign here with the French media reporting, a spike in hate speech and racist incidents. There are experts who expressed real concerns that a surge in voter support for the far right made some people, comfortable openly using racist and xenophobic language in public life. And I think this result showed that a lot of people were really put off with that.
Sonia, thank you very much. Our correspondent, Sonia Phalnikar, there in Paris. Now, we're joined by Pascale Hugues, author, journalist, and correspondent at the French political magazine Le Point. She is based here in Berlin. Pascale, would you say President Macron's gamble in calling this snap election has paid off for him?
No, I don't think so. I think it hasn't been a disaster for him. I mean, the result is better than one could be expected for him, but it's definitely not a victory for him. He hasn't got a majority. His majority is smaller than the one he had before, and now he's got to try this acrobatic number of trying to patch people together who don't belong together.
So how difficult do you think it will be for President Macron to work together with the leftist New Popular Front?
It's going to be very difficult. I mean, I think having a Rassemblement National, a far-right prime minister, would have been impossible for him. But now he has to, we don't know who the prime minister is going to be. If it's somebody from the far left, it's going to be very hard. And the French are not very good at making compromises and finding coalitions. This is new terrain for him. What is true is that Macron, who's always governed from above, I mean, it's a very strong presidential system, this time will have to listen to the parliament, will have to learn new skills. It's absolutely new land for France.
New land indeed. I mean, the far right did gain a lot more seats than it had before in Parliament. We've got the leftists now strongly represented. What kind of parliament could we see?
Well, the far right is not going to creep in a little corner and say we have lost, we're not going to mingle in politics anymore. I mean, they are a very strong force in France, and they are going to try to have a very strong voice. And they want to win the election to 2027. So they are going to be very active. And the other two camps, I mean the moderate right and the left wings, will have to find now a way of governing together and compromises and discussions, coalitions, maybe coalition, one subject after the other, that they work on a special, it's called a technical coalition on special projects, but it's going to be very difficult because it's not in the DNA of the French system. And within the left-wing camp, you have to remember it's not a party we have there. It's a sort of electoral alliance, a cartel, and with there's no program. They've patched up together 4 weeks ago. There's also no unity there. So they have to find a voice first, and then they have to try and work with the moderate right. I mean, it's going to be very sportive, I think.
Let's look ahead. Assuming that a government is formed, could we see political paralysis in the weeks to come while the different blocs try to figure out their coalition government? And what could this mean in terms of policy for the EU or foreign policy towards Ukraine, for that matter?
Well, I think it is going to be a very big slowdown, paralysis or blockade. First, you have the Olympic Games. I mean, that's a very big challenge for France. You get to have over that without any trouble, attacks or terrorist attack, or, I mean, without chaos. Then you have the holiday, which is sacred in France. I mean, the rentrée is in September. Everybody's away until the 1st of September. And then they'll have to really try and find a way of governing this country. But there'll be a lot of disagreement, a lot of negotiation. For Europe, it's not good. I don't think it's good. Jean-Luc Mélenchon, I mean, Jean-Luc Mélenchon is very skeptical, to say the least, against the European Union. He has very strong views on Germany, which are not particularly positive. You have election next year in Germany, so Germany is going to be paralyzed as well. And about the Ukraine, also very different views. I mean, the party of Jean-Luc Mélenchon is pro-Putin, wants to have negotiations now and peace negotiations. And of course, a lot of other parties like the Socialist Party, but also the parties around Emmanuel Macron want to carry on sending weapons. And then you have the American elections coming up. So, I mean, there's not much reasons to be very optimistic.
Pascale, thank you very much for talking with us today. That was journalist Pascale Hugues.